Welcome. I'm going to attempt to do a video on creation, what it really means. I mean, you've heard lots of interpretations about things, but I think I'm the only guy that knows exactly what it's referring to. So, if you haven't seen my site before, it's the true flat earth, the true earth we live in. It's all connected with nature and the human brain. It's all connected. So the story of Genesis is all connected with this, the human brain, and I'll even go and touch on Noah's Ark story, the flood. So first of all, we have to realize that our world is a holographic projection. It's all projected out. That's dark energy. Science can't get their head around what is it. Is there energy? What's creating it? Well, because it's forever going out, but the projecting, it's always been projected out. Just like when you turn on a speaker, the sound waves are coming out. They go so far, like if I put a speaker in the middle of this room and turned it on, you're going to have sound waves flowing out. It's not going to make the room any bigger, it's just going to go so far, but the sound is continuously coming out, isn't it? That's exactly what's coming out of centre Earth, the centre there. But what we cannot see, what science won't accept, man won't accept because they can't see it. They'll just fantasise about being this big space out there and it's all out there. Well, where is creation out there? Where's the centre point? They know it started from the Milky Way, yeah, sure, but that's not in the centre of something, is it? It's just out there. We're talking about you're supposedly living on a spinning ball with all this space around it. How can there be a centre point in this circle? You know, outside the ball. Wouldn't it make sense if it's all back inside the ball? But it's not quite. It's all back inside in the centre of our flat earth. Just like a clock works from the centre. Everything works like a clock. And it's all projected out. It's a holographic projection. We all live within this, an exploded view of what's inside here. Like an atom. Science knows an atom looks similar to this. All these electrons flowing around like this. This basically the pattern the moon takes. But why are they flowing around like that? Not like this. Well, my take is it's only like that because we're viewing it. How do you view it? By putting light on it, light on the subject. That's light from without, it's not light from within. Just like here on earth, us humans, our goal is to wake up our third eye, the pineal gland. That's the Son of Man, that's the light in the centre of our brain. Just like earth has a centre, has the sun in here, there. Obviously no one accepts it because I think they live on a spinning ball, but that's where it is. It's in the centre of there, the centre of earth, it's in the centre of your brain, the Son of Man. That's earth's brain. Man has his own. That has to wake up from within. We all exist on earth with that sun out there, but that's not the sun within. Like the God, the overall God. But we have God within us. We're fractals of it. We're all fractals of earth, the human. Our head is a fractal. Works the same way. There's the brain, the magnetic field. There's the shape of the brain. Now, we're observing that, science, under light. That's what they see. But once the internal light is set off, it starts flowing. Like this. Negative, positive. Just like earth. Once light has been created. We'll go into Genesis in a minute. It sets off opens the whole picture up. That's the bang. We get this exploded view we all dwell in. You get the bang when you create the sun. It's like a vortex of water. Builds up, then bang, get the suction down here. Well, in our realm, it creates the sun. That's electrical. Magnetic field out here, going this way. Electrical straight down there where the plasma of the sun is. It's all connected with everything. Nature, human brain. So we get things going. I'll read a bit of this Genesis. It says, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." Well, you could consider it's in here, or back in here. Darkness was upon the deep. It's dark. There's a black hole. Well, they're leading into the beginning. So you've created the black hole. There's darkness in there, in the deep, and it's a deep void. The black hole. Was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. On the face. It's on the face. It's all moisture in here. Atmospheric moisture. They're always referring to water. So imagine vortex water. Down here, once that suction becomes, there's a void, black void. On the face of the water would be out here. There's the face of the water. And God said, "Let there be light." So bang, get the shock, get the light. The sun is created. Once it's created, bam, we get our earth, our projection from the light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. That's what's in there. It's in here, isn't it? It's in there on the side, on the face of the waters. That's where all the action happens, down here. Down the centre is nothing. This is just Milky Way. There's the Milky Way, you see, all around here. That's where the action is, out here. It's like the flux on the magnet, the ring magnet. It's all the action out here. Nothing in the centre. That's the black void. That's inertia. All the action is up the side. The sun is created on the side of this action. Created the bulge, bang, in the Milky Way. Well, you know, all the stars go around it. It's the bulge there. And the sun shines from the back of the black hole out through the black hole, through space. Science must understand that, because they think the sun's way up there in black in the fantasy land, la land. It comes all this way through to Earth. That's how it works. There's the front and there's the back. So there's day and there is night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And when they bring evening and morning into it, evening meaning it's at night, but in the morning, day. And that's the connection with the human's awakening. Because we know the magnetic fields are at their strongest at 3 till 3:30 in the morning. And that's when the moon, you get a full moon at that time. If you get a full moon at that time, it does things with the human brain. That creates the enlightenment. The sun and the moon and the Holy Spirit, or the God, or you as the man, as the third entity, the Trinity. And because it's the same, it's inside the brain, setting that alight. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. The firmament is the magnetic field. That's where we go up there. You're going to hit it. You won't hit anything solid. It'll sort of hit it, bounce off like a force field, because it's just like the flux in a magnetic field. There's our firmament. There's waters out here, so we must all exist in this bubble. Right back here at creation, centre point. Water's up here. We've got moisture in here. We've got the water down here. There's no dry land yet. But once the sun went off, bang, what do you call it? The atmosphere. You get the atmospheric moisture coming off the ocean. So we've got water in here, all this moisture. That's all our holographic images of the stars and everything, and the moon sit and reflect of the moisture in the atmosphere. If we took away the sun, all that moisture would fall back into the ocean. You get the flood again. The dry land appeared when the moisture rose into the atmosphere. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the sea. And God said it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself. We understand that with fruit trees, there's the fruit and the seed inside it. It's the same with the human being. We have the fruit seed, we have the seed inside of us. We are fractals of the big image. We have to wake our seed out to grow consciously, to go somewhere. You're not going to fly out of here. You've got to fly out consciously. It's all in here. You can't get out of this magnetic field. You see, science had to make that, make the story up and then form a company called NASA so they get control of all this, so you can't get out there and look down. You can't find out what's going on. That's why they control the system. See, this plan here is like a clock. So you take a small clock and a big clock. So the small clock's obviously got smaller digits, numerals on it, right? A bigger clock's got bigger numerals on it. So people ask, oh, you know, where's the flat earth map then? Because they don't want me to do this sort of thing. Keep querying, where's the flat earth map? Well, you know, like I said, let's say you had a small clock with small numerals on it. You've got a bigger clock with bigger numerals on it. Yet, if they're side by side, most of these people aren't going to query, well, how can the time be the same? It's got a bigger circle to go around. That clock's got a bigger area to go around, and this one's got a smaller area, circumference to go around. How can they both hold the same time? They don't even think about it. Well, that's the thing. That's relativity. The clock arm comes out here, so it has to travel further than the smaller clock, right? So if it's travelling, it has to travel faster to get to A to B. So because it's a longer distance, something must be slowing down. So that's relativity. When they say time slows down, the faster you go through space-time. So it's going fast, but because it's travelling a further distance, something slowed down. You know what I mean? That's why you can't make a flat earth map. Because everything out here has to be stretched on the bigger clock as opposed to the smaller clock. So back here it's all shrunk back into the centre. Out here has to expand out. But because we live in this magnetic electrical realm, this is spreading, but over from A to B, time has slowed down. So something has reduced. Moving faster, but something in there has to reduce. So what happens is everything reduces back down to our horizon, all respective to one's own horizon. It's relativity. So they can't get their head around that, so what they do is they've just taken it and folded it back around, brought it back to, you know, I don't know how to call it, but that's how they do it. They pull it round into a ball and then say you live on a ball, and then control NASA so you can't get up there to see it. You can't get out anyway, but they're not going to let you try. So when a flat earther asks you where's the flat earth, a spinning baller wants to know where the flat earth map is, because he knows you can't create one if he's got a brain. That's why he's asking you the question, because you know you can't. Well, you ask him, well, you think you live on a spinning ball, show me a spherical clock. Because all this works for like a clock. So, you know, they must be bright. Get them to show you a spherical clock. No such thing as a spherical clock. But they want you to make you think you live on a spinning ball. Okay, let's move on. After his kind, and the evening and the morning of the third day, and God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons. Yeah, it just goes on there about the light and the stars. So once the sun has gone bang, everything is formed around it. you know, you got all the Milky Way down here, inside here, around the sun, the bulge all around here, down there. It's created the planets sit in here. These planets sit on a V, right? The sun's down here. And you see Mercury and Venus are always, they think they're there going around the sun. No, they're doing the same track as the bigger planets up here, but it's just a smaller track. I mean, the same motion, they're all on their individual tracks, but because they're way down here, close, they look like they're, well, they are close, look like they're close to the sun, they're going around the sun. But they're only seen down there next to the sun because they're in that smaller point of the V. Up here further away, right? Because the sun's down here. Planets have come up a little bit to get right up to Saturn and that. That's how it works. It's all amplified out into our sky, obviously. That's what goes on in here. It's like this. There's the sun. And you can imagine these are the tracks the planets are on. Mercury and Venus down here. And we see it reflected out, you know, up, it's in there, you can reflect it out, and we see it up in the sky doing this sort of thing, don't we? On the race course. The ecliptic. So, and then when you look at this, you know, you can imagine it's sort of like this, as an egg, because the sun is here. The sun here creates the egg shape. All the planets do a circle in here because the sun's moving quicker. So they're not forming the egg shape as they move around their track. They're just going, you know, around a circle like this. Because the sun's always racing ahead, so the sun's head's out here. They're just racing around in their circle after the sun. It's in my hand. But as for the moon, let's do that. So the sun's in there again, on the edge there. What the moon's doing, remember the sun is going faster than the moon, but the moon is on the outside track. The moon's out here. So what we see in our sky is, because that's reflected out into our sky, so we see this. So we, you know, science wants you all to think you've got a swim ball. But let's say we're seeing it like that anyway. It's the mirror image, right? So when the sun moves around, something down. Well, so this is the track of the moon. The moon. More colours. So this is the centre in here. I've centred right down the centre here. So there's the black hole. Nothing goes down there. That's all the stars. Everything gets eaten up eventually by falling back down into here. It builds up and falls back down into here. There's the black hole. So it's a void. That's the void. Nothing goes in there. It all has to go around it. So that's the track your moon's going to do around there. So then, you know, the next day or week or whatever, the sun's here. So that's the track that, oops, yeah, the moon does. Then the sun's around here one day. That's the track that the moon it ends up looking like that. But it's because the moon is outside the sun. But it's not actually going around the sun like that because the sun's races ahead. But it takes that pattern thanks to the sun. It sounds right. Yes, that's that pattern. So when you start comparing Genesis with the creation story, no, I mean the Noah's flood, the story. See that all religion has been kept because it's all relevant today. because this is man's awakening. This is man's creation. That's Earth's creation. It overlays, the story overlays man's creation. But this obviously happened once. But man, all men, are capable of waking up and having their creation. And it all happens at different times. It's all associated with the stars, the planets, you know, constellations and all that. But the ultimate story in there is the Jesus story, which happens on the 6th day, which happened in September, 6th day of September, which was the 6th day of the first month, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so when they get the ultimate awakening, which the whole story tells you about, is the flood, is the pineal gland. See, the pineal gland is your son of man, that sits in water. And thanks to the magnetic fields of the moon, the heavens, stars, everything aligning, and the Earth's magnetic field, at the right time when the stars align, so to speak, some sort of electrical circuit works through the system, works through the body, and it releases the fluid from around your pineal gland, and it goes into the 4 rivers, which are the 4 ventricles of the brain, and gets flushed through your system. But there's some pituitary oil gland, I think it's the pituitary gland. Oil gets flushed into the blood as well, and flushes through your system. But it's all flushed through and out within 30 minutes. That's the Jesus story here at 30 and gone by 33. And I can relate this back to the date of the 2017 solar eclipse and all that, to the full moon after that. And that full moon happened on the 6th day at 3:03 in the morning. So 3:03 in the morning to 3:33 in the morning. The event took place. And it hadn't taken place for 1,000 years or whatever before that. But all that all added up into that Bible. And it's all told in there. And so what happens is it releases the fluid around the pineal gland and leaves the pineal gland dry and high. Just like the flood and the boat up in Mount Ararat, high and dry. And so the flood comes, and during this awakening, it's a psychological event. And when it comes to the death, born and dies, the death of his old life, his past, being born into hell, basically. You're not in heaven. We're born down here, and we have to wake up, to rise, to consciously rise. So your old life, your physical consciousness, you've led to believe, that dies off. You're a changed person and become more spiritual. So you're born into the spirit world, understanding things. And this is where you need the 40 days and 40 nights out and away from everybody, because you're going through some weird stuff. And that's basically it, really. And then so you'll find it's related to these stories you get out of the Middle East somewhere, the sarcophagus, these granite sarcophagi, 100 tons down there buried in earth, and 1 or 2 are in electrified water. They sit in water. And maybe when that water resides, something's going to happen, or maybe it's already happened. When they open those, manage to slide the lids on those big 10-ton lids, there's nothing in there. There's no body. But they have found in some of them was a black tarry-like substance. And then you think, well, when a baby's first born, its first poop is black tar. You think, wham, was man created down there or what? But that's what happens. An enlightened man, that water's come away from his pineal gland, and he is now open. It's like this void here, the black hole. He is now open. It's now open. It's open to the wider realm of reality. It's like this is, it's opened, the sun's been created, the void's there, bang, it's opened up. Everything is amplified out. Everything is from the center point above the Arctic Circle. That's creation right back in the center. About 300,000 feet probably above the Arctic Circle. That's it. That's all I can say, I think. Cheers for listening.